We'll call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, all members are present. Approval of the agenda. We have one addition, 7E. Approve Resolution 2023-22 authorizing changes to the designated funds. Is there any other changes? Council? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe.
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the February 15th, 2023 regular meeting. Are there any questions, concerns, changes needed within those minutes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15th meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Shellen,
I'll second.
second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is closed. We have no public hearings, no reports and presentations. We'll move right into action items. 7A, approve resolution 2023-18, approving plans and authorizing bids, author's edition.
All right. First off, Mayor and Council, I do have a short presentation just to show you the plans. I think you've been provided most of those in your packet, but I'll just go through them really quickly for you, and feel free to ask any questions that you might have. I best take this with. All right. So this is the author's edition, as everyone knows. This is our grading plan for the project. We are doing this portion of the project, as we've discussed before, the extension of Hendricks Drive, the extension of what we're going to call Half-a-Day Drive, would come right up through here. Sewer and water on the project, basically everything drains down through Half-a-Day actually. So this is at the top of Hendricks. We'll have sewer and water that will be connected at the existing stubs down here for the water. The sewer actually will be split here. So there is sewer that comes up and dead ends right in this location, enough to be able to service this existing lot on the west side here. So we'll be able to provide service for that, as well as all the lots down through here. This is a 6-inch water that's along through here. Everything else on the project is 8-inch water. Normally, everything we do these days is 8-inch. So there's a little stub of 6-inch because that's all that's there, essentially, at this point in time. Hendricks, this is the very tail end of it. Just coming up, we'll have a temporary turnaround on the end. This will just be proposed to be a gravel turnaround until such time as phase 2 and phase 3 on the other side are extended. Half-a-day, we connect into existing 6-inch water and 8-inch sewer on this. Hickman Drive is right here, Hendricks, so these are existing roads, extends all the way up to the end of the street, essentially. You can kind of see the depths. We do come through a kind of a hill here, so it gets a little bit deep in through this spot, but that's about the only deep spot really on the entire project for there. Continues on Half-a-Day, and this is once again another turnaround at the end. We'll have a hydrant at the end so we can blow out and flush from there, and we'll also have a temporary to be able to connect the storm sewer, because ultimately there's a lower area that's through here. Until we do this phase out here, there's going to be a low spot through here, so we'll be picking up that with the storm sewer on an interim basis through here. Road sections through here are that 36-foot standard residential drive through here. So storm sewer is pretty much everything's in the road. It goes down to, I'll go actually back to this one. And everything on the storm sewer essentially drains down a low spot here, a low spot here that drains down into our stormwater pond, which ultimately will discharge into the large wetland complex through here. There is a culvert that crosses Ferry Lake through here, and that water drains down, gets picked up on the storm sewer back in here. Any overflows come down through this property line over onto the street and down into this low spot. So that's kind of how the sewer and water street works through here. As is, I don't have all the things right in front of me. The intention is to bid this project either the 29th or maybe the 30th of this month. So it would come before you, your first meeting in April. So if you choose to approve the plans and authorize advertisement for bids tonight, that will be the schedule. Construction would be expected to start, basically June 1st approximately, and probably take 3 months thereabouts to complete this project. So any questions the council may have?
Questions? Will you have anything to do with that trail as far as this first section?
Yes, hopefully it shows, it's kind of showing here. So the trail is intended to be, this is just this piece right in through here. And it really is kind of a trail to nowhere, but it's much easier to do it now than to try to come back and do it later when someone's yard is all constructed, their grass is growing and whatnot, to try and match in and go against it becomes much more difficult in the future. So I would strongly suggest we put it in now, even though it kind of looks a little silly that it's going nowhere, but ultimately it is intended to go further to the north. We did have a request from this property owner, so this property owner here is the one that also owns this lot. We do have sidewalk that's planned on one side of the road. It's on the west side of Hendricks, and it's on the east side of Half a Day. We've had a request that this piece, they would prefer not to have sidewalk through there. They believe that, that with the trail there and sidewalk through the rest of it, that there's no need for this through that particular property. So they felt very strongly about that, and I wanted to share that with you. And if you had any directives for me as to if you felt that we could remove that from that particular lot, it could always be done in the future if future council decide that they wish to extend sidewalk up through here at some point in time in a reconstruct. It could be done at that time. So there are options, if you will. They are working with us to potentially do some filling in this low area through here, which actually provides some benefit to us because we might be able to reduce a chunk of our storm sewer costs by being able to use overland flow as opposed to having to go all the way up there with a catch basin. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody if we can do that. So that's something that I think later on we have a discussion item with a few of the property owners. So I'll save the rest of it for later, but that's specifically as it relates to that particular lot. So
On that item, what's the council?
The sidewalk doesn't continue the rest of the,
No.
on through here, the sidewalk currently does not continue. Whether you envision that sometime in the future, that's your call, but currently it does not. Everything does, we don't have anything. Ultimately, the plan would be the thought to have some sort of pedestrian way to be able to connect down to the parks to the south through here. We don't have that currently in front of us, but that's in the thought process, in the planning to do that.
Yeah, personally, I think that sidewalk in front of their property really doesn't need to be there for right now.
that's where I was leaning.
Because it's basically like, it would look just as silly as that trail that goes to nowhere.
Okay.
To put that sidewalk in front of there with nowhere to go for it.
The sidewalk to nowhere too. Yeah.
All we're doing is increasing snow removal costs for them,
Yeah. Okay.
just for that, when there's nowhere to go for it.
Well, I think like Keith had said, if we down the road decide to put one in further, then
we
addressing
can
it
put
at that
it in.
point,
Okay.
And that might be a future council by
Yeah.
that time. So
I would think if I hear consensus, we could just
consensus is to
remove
remove that chunk.
that off.
Yeah,
Is that-
yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Any other?
How much
questions?
water actually comes from the west side of, what is it?
Quite a bit in total. Actually, more of it comes from, there's a culvert that's further north up here.
Mhm.
That's where there's like 80-some acres that drains through there. This one, I want to say it's like 9+ acres or something that drains through there. It's been a little while since I looked at that hydrology, but
The reason why I'm asking that is if we're gonna drain that whole side back in and cut it through there, is that pond on the other side gonna be able to handle what we gonna have for water flow?
is this pond?
Yeah.
Yes, it's all sized for all of that.
Okay,
Yeah, this one's actually bigger. If you recall, there's one up here too in the future. And this one's, 2, 3 times as large as that one.
okay.
Yeah, this one does collect the majority. This one might be a third perhaps of the entire site.
I just didn't wanna have a pond this size for what we're doing and then have all that water from the other side create a problem.
Right.
So,
Well, and remember, it's about timing too. That's got a long way to go before it gets here. So all the water that's kind of in this immediate area will be in and gone before that water even gets here.
okay,
So you gotta think about it that way.
Sure.
It's travel time.
okay. Anyone else have any questions, concerns? Okay. Anything else, Keith?
That is it. You have your action item before you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a resolution 2023-18 approving plans and authorizing bids for author's edition. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by Diane to approve
Right.
and for this solicitation of bids also.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second? Chair will second it. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. 7B, approved cigarette license.
So 7B and 7C, kind of take those together. This
Yep.
is for a cigarette license application and a cannabinoid license application. This is to be at the building that is formerly the Moonshine Shop, if you're familiar with the place that we're talking about. And so it's Sauk Center Tobacco, Inc., and they have applied to have the cannabinoid sales and a tobacco license at that location. I believe they're going to be leasing it for some period of time. They did send in all the background information, and also they did the backgrounding through the police department, and they passed all that. This is going to be similar to a smoke shop, which will have the cannabinoids and the vaping, tobacco, cigars, that type of business that will be in there. But they did meet all the requirements for the business. They've given us their business registration. They filed all the paperwork with the state. So their last step is to get the approval of the city to actually be issued the license to have it there. And I think that they were going to start right away. I mean, the cigarette licenses, they all renew in July 1st, so they'll have to redo that in July 1st. But they are proposing to do that. The name, I'm sorry, is Tiet Mai Thi No. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they're actually out of Detroit Lakes. So kind of give you an idea. So what we're looking for tonight is the approval of both the cannabinoid license and the cigarette license to be at that location at 1161 Main Street South.
Questions? Comments? Everyone understands we're going to take both of them at the
Yep.
same time? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the request for both cigarette license and cannabinoid?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Shallen, seconded by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2023-19 approving sale of excess equipment.
We had excess equipment for the street and the parks department that we offered for sale through the online bidding process with MinBid. There was an old Lincoln arc welder that we received a bid of $231, and a couple old generators that were non-working that we received a bid of $399. So we're looking to approve resolution 2023-19 authorizing the sale of this excess equipment.
Questions? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-19?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
By Diane, second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve resolution 2023-22 authorizing changes to designated funds.
So in our accounting process, we have a lot of funds that are restricted by nature of the type of funds they are, like the TIF funds and the debt service funds. But we also have times where we allocate a portion of a fund balance to a specific purpose. For instance, the fire department has money allocated to a specific purpose, the library, and the small city development loan program. The library, we have to reduce the restriction on the funds because the cash balance is low enough that you can't restrict more than they have of a cash balance. So we're recommending to reduce that by $11,453. And then the small city grant money, that's an automatic reduction that we have to do. It ebbs and flows based on the amount of restricted money that we have, which is based on what people pay back to us each year. So it's kind of a convoluted process through the state. It's called program money that has more restrictions on it than the balance of the funds in the account. And so that part is a mandated one by the state to reduce that fund restriction by $24,528, which is a good thing on that fund because that is less restrictive for us then to remove some of those restrictions. So what we're looking to do today tonight, and these would be effective December 31st, 2022 at the close of the fiscal year, to reduce the designated fund balance for those two funds.
Questions? Comments? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2023-22?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Shellen. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We have no unfinished business. New business, 9A, utility and grading easements, Hendricks and Half a Day, existing lots.
So this had to do with what Keith was talking about earlier. This has to do with the existing property owners. We have 5 of them that are impacted by our project, and it involves grading and utility easements along those properties. So earlier today, or this evening, we actually met one-on-one with each of those individual properties in order to either obtain easements, talk about grading, and just answer questions in general. We have a couple of them now that we will be doing some additional grading to tie into ours to help eliminate some of our additional costs for storm sewer, so it's kind of a win-win situation with them. And other ones to get easements moved, because an easement maybe runs across their property where we're going to move it to the edge of the property where it would benefit us both. So I think it was good meetings to have with each of the individual people. We got some feedback from them, and we'll be coming forward with those easements for you to execute at a later date once we have them drafted. We also talked somewhat about the assessments on there. We were unable to give them a lot of information because the council hasn't yet made a determination on how that's going to occur, and we haven't opened bids yet to get final numbers. But at least we were able to talk to them one-on-one about the assessments and how they'll work, whether they run it to have sewer and water services, where they may want to put their driveways, talked about trees, gardens, the whole gamut. So we were able to have some good productive conversations, which made us late for this meeting a little bit, but that's okay. So this is more information only, unless Keith has anything additional to add. I think as far as you're concerned, the next part you'll see about this will be the easements that we would want to be obtaining in order to do that grading, to tie those in. Just kind of have a more gentle slope rather than just tying in right at the property line.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Okay.
Okay, St. Clair Lewis Library Facility.
So we recently received a copy of the facility assessment for the St. Clair Lewis Library that was conducted by the Great Regional Library System. As expected, they identified the windows as a critical area that needs to be addressed. You know, in the past, we obtained estimates to replace the windows, and it's about $100,000 to replace those windows that are in there. They're very old. They're not a standard size, which contributes to that cost. We did in 2021 apply for a grant with the Department of Education. However, we were not awarded funding at that time. And of course, we became aware of the grant with very few days to put that together. So now this is a grant funding year if the legislature appropriates the money. So if they do, I would like to proceed with, hopefully it's a match grant. So it's a 50-50 grant But I did want to bring it to your attention that those facility needs of the windows has been advanced quite a bit with the regional library system as a need, because we had water infiltration into the library from the windows, and the wind blows inside the building in the winter. And so we do really need to keep that, as among other things, at the top of our consideration when we're looking at funding. But I'll bring more information to you. If they do fund the grant, then we'll have to go out and get a more formal estimate. And then we'll bring that back to you to see, because it's matched. So if we want to do it, we need to provide the match. So that'll come before you at a future date.
Questions?
Did we have this in consideration in the budget?
To replace the windows? No, we did not. Not for this year, we didn't.
Thought in previous years that we had, and that
We
was,
had it in there for previous years, but the library fund is just kind of covering its own operating costs at this
Yeah.
point.
okay.
I know it's way early, but we have any idea of, since they're odd size, what kind of timeline, if we'd order them, how long we're gonna wait for?
How long before they're here?
Yeah,
It could be 2 years.
right. In the meantime, we might have
And the
plywood
library
over the.
system is aware of that. I mean, the Great Regional Library System, they'll work with us. I mean, they're very happy to be here.
Right.
And so I suggested that maybe Stearns County help us, but
Right, okay. All right, then we will move on to our consent agenda. We have schedule of claims, unpaid claims, $193,013.22. Resolution 2023-20 is resolution accepting contributions of $130.05 from the men's card playing group to be allocated to the senior center, $250 from the Sauk Center CVB to be allocated to the fire department, $100 from John Jelke to be allocated to the fire department. And on behalf of the city and the council, I want to thank those people, our groups, for their contribution. We have Resolution 2023-21, approving an off-site gambling permit for the Community Connections of Sauk Center. The permit would allow for a raffle to be held on June 16th, 2023 at the Stearns County Fairgrounds. And we have gambling applications for exempt permit requests from the Sauk Center Snow Cleats for a raffle on September 24th, 2023 at the Sauk Center Snow Cleats Incorporated Clubhouse. Is there any questions concerning the consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Shellen, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
just a couple informational items. 2023 is the final year of the agreement with Clark Mosquito Control for spraying for mosquitoes at Sinclair Lewis Park. So they are requesting a renewal. That'll be something that'll come before you at a later date. And also the closing has been completed for the purchase of depot feeds by the public utility. So that we signed those paperwork on Friday. And so that closing is complete. And I don't know, Warren, what the plans are moving forward with the demolition. And do you know any?
We haven't discussed anything at the commission level yet on that until all the papers were signed.
Okay.
So, one question on mosquito control agreement.
Mhm.
Is there a chance that we could actually look at doing that citywide?
They did a proposal initially. Well, we used them for a year, then we did a 3-year contract. And when we did the 3-year contract, they actually came with a proposal to do it citywide. And I think I brought that before the city council actually at that time, which it did not proceed at that point, but they are requesting again. They said if they would be willing to present a new proposal for citywide if we chose to do that. So,
What's,
but
I would-
that would be 2024.
okay, right, but I'm thinking that we should at least look at that
Sure.
option again. and
I
have them
can,
bring
I
it
can
to
ask
us.
them that when they present the next contract, that they also have that option of a citywide.
Because I know one of the cities that does this every year and they love it. So, You know, there isn't anywhere in the city you can go and worry about a mosquito biting you.
Would that be 100% city cost, or is there a way that we could tack that onto like a
City, I
$5 per
know,
house
does
fee or
like,
something?
they disperse the costs on the utility bill. It's a one-time thing, and I think it's like $5
Yeah, okay.
at that time, because that was about 4 years ago that they started it. So I'm sure with costs going up, but you do a one-time charge per household on the water and light bill, if that's possible, for, say, even $10. It gets you through, you don't have to worry about it. So that's the reason why I'm interested in at least looking what they can bring us as a citywide. And at that point, that other city that I talked to actually had it where if you wanted to opt out, you could. If you didn't want your property sprayed, you could actually do that. But in that whole city, which is Hutchinson, they're pretty large. There was only like 10 properties that opted out of it. So if we can, for that, we split the costs and able to do that, I think it's a good thing for Sauk Center. So that's why I brought it up.
Thank you.
So, any other comments on the informational items? Otherwise, we're at the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.